Hello everyone, and as you can tell by the title of this video, it's time to talk about my favourite books of the year. I'm filming this on New Year's Eve, and yes, there is still time left to read, but I don't anticipate that I'm going to finish anything today, and if I do, I don't think it's going to make it onto this list, so filming it now. Going off the anticipation that I'm not going to finish reading anything else this year, I read 91 books in total. I believe that is the amount, that is what it was the last time that I checked it, and I haven't finished anything else since. So, 91 books. I may have read 91 books this year, but most of those were not great, and that is reflected in this list. It's a small list, but a mighty list, and the books on it are very deserving of having a place in my favourite books of the year. And also it's a very predictable list if you've been following me at all. So I have 4 books to talk about, and the first one that I'm going to talk about is The Upside of Unrequited by Becky Albertalli. Told you this list was going to be painfully predictable. This book follows a girl called Molly who wants nothing more than to get a boyfriend, and she believes that no one will ever truly love her because she is a bigger girl and she has a lot of anxiety issues as well, so she's pretty much settled for her list of unrequited crushes. There's so much more to this story than just that, but I feel like the joy is in the discovery, and honestly it blew my mind when I read it earlier this year, and whenever anyone has asked me for recommendations throughout this year, this has been the #1 book that I've gone to. You've got all sorts of different representation. You've got Jewish representation, fat representation, anxiety, bisexual, pansexual, and none of that feels like it's there just to tick boxes. It's all woven into the narrative in a way that just feels completely natural, which is what it should do. I did a full review talking about this book, which I will link down below, but honestly it made me feel so valid on so many different levels, and I connected so much to the character of Molly, and it's such a good book. And I believe 2015, her debut Simon vs. the Homo sapiens Agenda was on my favourite books of the year list, and she's got some new books coming out next year, and no doubt they will be on my favourites for next year because I absolutely love her writing and her stories, and go read this book if you haven't. And the next one that I'm going to talk about is Noah Can't Even by Simon James Green. This is a British teen LGBT book following a boy called Noah who wants to be a normal teenage boy. That is all that he wants at this present moment in time, and he decides that he is going to go to this party and kiss this beautiful girl called Sophie, and that will solve all of his problems. But when he goes to this party, he ends up kissing his best friend Harry. Yeah. And naturally that brings in lots of questions about his identity and his sexuality. And again, this is another one that has many multiple layers to it, but at its core, it is absolutely hysterical. It is so funny. There were bits in this book when I was just laughing out loud so much that like my chest was hurting, and even when I finish this book and thinking about bits in it now while talking about it, I can't help but smile and laugh because it's so cringy, embarrassing, hysterical, everything that you want in a teenage book, because there is often this conversation that a lot of books about teenagers feel too old, but this really gets into the head of a teenager, and Noah's narrative and internal monologue is it's just brilliant. It's so funny. I'm going to be using my Kindle again for this next one, not because it's an ebook, but because it's a book I actually took out of the library, and so I don't have a physical copy of it right now, and that is The Thing About Jellyfish by Ali Benjamin. This is a 9 to 12 book that follows a girl called Susie who is coming to terms with the unexpected death of her best friend. And given the circumstances in which it happened, Susie is unable to accept this particular reason as to how her friend died, and she ends up learning about jellyfish and a particular type of jellyfish, and comes to the conclusion that jellyfish were the real cause of death for her friend. This is another book that I did a full review of, which I will link down below, but honestly this story is absolutely phenomenal. It made me cry several times. It just completely blew me away, because this is a story fundamentally about grief, and here you have a 12-year-old girl? Yeah, 12-year-old girl being faced with essentially her own mortality for the first time. The final book on my list is one that I really contemplated whether to include or not for a while, because it was on my favourite books of last year, but I figured this is my list, my channel, and I make the rules. So the final book that I'm going to talk about is the Christmas Oris, the musical edition by Tom Fletcher. The story follows a boy called William Trundle who wants nothing more than a dinosaur for Christmas, and it just so happens that the elves at the North Pole have dug up a dinosaur egg, and through a series of events, William and a dinosaur called the Christmas Oris end up having a magical adventure together on Christmas Eve. For those who don't know, Tom Fletcher is quite a musical individual, and this time last year when the original version of this came out, he announced that in 2017 there would be a live musical stage show of the Christmas Oris. Those shows, I believe, are all done now, but I was one of the many people who couldn't just go down to London to see this show, so it's nice that he made this musical version. And the way that it works is basically you read the book just as you would any regular book, but you get to certain points in the story and you have these little, I don't know if you can see, these little notes that tell you to play a song, and then you get the track on the CD and you play that song, and it sort of enhances the story. Yes, this book was on my favourites for last year, and here we are again, but I was very sceptical about the musical edition and whether it would work or not, but honestly it really does add an extra layer of magic and imagination, because in this particular scenes when you have to play a song, I would just sit there and would just listen to the song and maybe read along the lyrics that are listed in the back as well, and it allowed your imagination to conjure up new scenes that were not technically present in the book. So like I said, it's a small but mighty list. Every book on it has very much earned their place, because I am still thinking about them now, even though for some of them it's been months since I read them. I have a video about my reading goals for the new year coming soon, and I'm planning on doing series rereads, which I kept saying this year that I was going to do and I never got around to it. So I'm hoping to do some rereads next year, and there's going to be a little series going on about that, discussing my thoughts on that. But yes, let me know what some of your favourite books of the year are, what are you most excited for in 2018. Let me know in the comments below, and I will be back with a new video soon. Bye!